Hey, welcome to After the Gig. I'm Jesse Humphrey, and today on the show, I have the wonderful, multifaceted Patrick McAloon. Patrick plays guitar and sings background vocals in the Pat McGee Band, and he's also an artist relations person for Sixth Man Cruises. So Sixth Man is a production company that runs the cruises out of Miami, Florida. Sometimes it's Fort Lauderdale, a couple different places, a couple different ports down there, but I'm pretty sure it's mostly out of Miami these days. They do the Rock Boat, they do Kayamo, they do Sail Across the Sun with Train, the WWE cruise, Bert Kreischer did one. There's the 311 cruise, a lot of really cool stuff. And Sixth Man is such an incredible production company that Patrick became a part of, and I believe he said in the interview, but I think this is his third year with Sixth Man. So we talk a bit about that. If you're only listening to the podcast, go over and check out on YouTube if you want to watch it. The podcast was shot at Patrick's home studio, so in his control room there. Very, very cool setting for it. So if you want to go check that out on YouTube, go over there. And also, if you're not subscribed to the After the Gig newsletter, to get an email every week about different things in the music industry, different experiences that I've had, different things that I've learned over the years. It's really great. I really love doing it, and I would love to have you over there. This week I was actually on the road, so I didn't get to send one out, but we'll be right back at it on Sunday. And if you're a subscriber, you'll be seeing this podcast in your inbox today. So without any further ado, please enjoy this podcast with the lovely Patrick McAloon. Your daughter is a musician.
Yes.
Like a really good one.
I agree.
And did music in your family, like what was like the role of music in your family growing up, like at an early stage?
There was always music playing in my house. You know, my parents were music fans. I didn't go to shows or anything really as a kid.
Yeah.
That wasn't part of our day to day. Like I think my first concert was maybe in third grade, and it was like a big event. You know, like that was going to a concert where, you know, fast forwarding to now with me and my kids, like shows are like just a regular part of our lives,
right.
You know, in so many different ways. But growing up, a lot of music listened in the house, you know, records spinning and everything.
Did they play at all, your parents?
My dad actually taught me my first handful of chords and got me started. And my uncle, my mom's brother, and my dad were both sort of musical, just
cool.
Just because they loved it. They were, you know, it wasn't a profession. It wasn't anything like that. But yeah, my dad and my uncle were the two that really like sort of set me up for success.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, my mom was the music fan. They all were music fans, but my mom was not a performer or anything like that.
What kind of music is she into?
They were both into like, you know, kind of pretty diverse, but like blues, you know, like I remember Stevie Ray Vaughan playing in my house all the time, and you know, at the same time that Jesus Christ Superstar was on the record player, you know, so there was like musicals, and like they were playing Hair for me when I was like in middle school, which is kind of, you know, kind of funny.
Yeah.
But Boss Skaggs and Ry Cooder and Jackson Brown, and you know, I mean shit, there were Kiss records on too, you know, like all over the place. All over the place. I still have most of my parents' vinyl collection, which is awesome because I've got all the classics, which is pretty sweet.
We had a lot of records in the house. My mom, you know, big music fans and everything. We would listen to a lot of Van Morrison.
Totally.
And my dad loves prog rock. Like,
okay.
You know, like
the pendulum swings.
Yeah, and my uncle, who was technically not my uncle, but you know, one of those guys,
right. Yeah.
Very close, and he was a drummer, and back in the day, like he was in a band, kind of prog rocky, and like my dad would like tour manage for them and all that stuff. And
was that how you got started on drums?
Yeah, so I started learning from my uncle's records.
That's amazing.
So like my Uncle Jeff, who hopefully I'll have on this at some point, was like a huge influence and inspiration, like because he played drums. I had a drum set. I kind of took to it
That's
pretty
cool.
early, and
Yeah.
then I would just play to his records. So I was playing all these like proggy,
It's amazing.
like kind of more complicated than I should have been playing. Kind of skipped a lot of the foundational stuff
Yeah,
and had
right.
to unlearn a lot of things before
like,
I could.
I know I can do this way.
Yeah,
It might not
exactly.
be the right way
Yeah,
or the most efficient way, but that's awesome.
I know.
I remember my dad, like, you know, even teaching me how to like tune a guitar. He's like, yeah, you know, you put your finger on the 5th fret. And I remember him like leaving me at home in middle school or whatever when I first started playing, and being like, I'm gonna tune this guitar. And I got to the G string to tune the B, and I was like, that's not right. And so I just kept, I was like, well, 5th fret. And I did 5th, and then all of a sudden the whole guitar was tuned in 4ths, and I was like, none of these chords sound right. And I remember my dad coming home from work, and I was like, Dad, what's going on? You know, so that was my first you know, you learn by failing and you learn by messing up, and that was the very first, you know, guitar lesson that
Do you have like a first guitar? So like when you got your first guitar, was it like given to you? Did you have to do a bunch of chores to get your first guitar?
It was gifted to me on Christmas, and I wish I still had it. It was like a Fender Dreadnought, not with the Strat headstock, but like a squared off headstock. Like it was, I forget. I mean, I wish I knew more about it now, and I've never bothered to like Google what it was, but it was a beautiful guitar, like, you know, rosewood back and sides and spruce top.
Nice.
You know, which is kind of what I've gravitated towards now as a player, you know, almost 30 years later or whatever. But yeah, and prior to that, I'd been playing like whatever was around the house. In fact, that guitar right there, which is not on screen,
you can grab it.
This was one of the first guitars that I ever played. But this, I am the 3rd generation owner of this.
Oh. Tell us about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be able to see it in that one too. The whole thing.
It's a Hofner, which is the violin bass that McCartney plays. It's a Hofner, very thin. It's like a, you know, 335-esque kind of thing. They had their own proprietary pickups, but this was the first guitar I ever got to strum, and it belonged to my dad's uncle, and then it belonged to my dad, and recently I realized it belongs to me, but I think I stole it from my dad. I don't think I ever actually asked. I think I was just like gigging, and my dad was never gigging, and I think I was just like, I need this. And, you know, my dad is, you know, one of my biggest supporters, and I don't think he ever said boo. Yeah. You know, and
it's probably like, well, someone's going to use it.
Yeah, I joke with him still. I'm like, well, I think I stole that from you, and you know.
Have you ever used that live?
Occasionally. I've
never seen it.
It's fully hollow, and so it wants to get away from you pretty quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple of Pat McGee's Down the Hatches ago. Okay. Some of the early years of me playing those with him. My dad was coming. My dad comes to Down the Hatch every year. Sweet. Which is great. He and his wife got engaged on the Outer Banks, so it's all serendipitous that they like to vacation with us every year.
That's great. What a great spot too. Yeah. My brother was just there on vacation, and I've only been there twice for 2. We call them sea leaf events, carbon leaf events.
Oh, and sea leaf, right?
Yeah, so like, which are super fun. Yeah, and it's a very Down the Hatch-esque thing, and it's such a great place. I can see why they got engaged or married there, or both, or whatever.
Engaged there, married in Rhode Island.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, you got to get married in Rhode Island.
You got to get married in Rhode Island. We are in Rhode Island right now.
Yeah, I was telling you on the phone yesterday, it's like I can't in good faith just have a podcast with you and not be in the same place or the same room. Right. It's like I just can't do it. It's like that's why it's taken so long, because I just can't, you know.
I'm glad that we're both here in our tiny state.
What was like a big mistake that you feel you made, like maybe early on or coming up in music, or maybe like a attitude thing, or just something maybe you didn't get early on that maybe affected you to the negatively, and then that was something that you had to like work through?
I would say, well, oddly enough, we were just talking about my dad. My dad managed me in my career for the very beginnings of like when I was playing all the cover gigs, and like, you know, a lot of us came up
this sounds familiar.
Slugging it out in bars, and, you know, doing all that. And I mean, I was in I think my senior year of high school, I was playing 5 nights a week by then,
Wow.
you know, at that point, and doing really well for a young, dumb kid. And
Yeah, because you can play 5 nights a week, making what, a couple hundred,
yeah, I mean,
maybe more in tips.
in the late 90s,
Mhm.
for sure. I mean, I was like living like a king.
You're doing pretty good.
And you know, my dad managed me for a good while, and I fired him.
Oh wow.
You know, because I was too cool for school,
No shit.
and you know, it was it was a mistake. You know, in the
That must have
in the
been-
moment, it was a mistake for sure.
Sure.
But I was too young and too, you know, headstrong to realize it. And all these years later, I'm like, man, you know, we talked briefly about Ruby at the top there, and Ruby Mac, my daughter.
Right.
Just
It's Ruby Mac.
it's Ruby Mac. But
TM.
TM.
Trademark.
Yeah, trademark. What I learned over what's now been a 30-ish year career being a professional musician was, you know, surround yourself with the people that care about you.
Right.
You know, the people that care about you more than care about the dollar signs behind you.
Mhm.
And that was a mistake that I made by not keeping my dad closer to the business operations for longer.
Did you feel like your dad could only take you so far?
I think in the moment I thought that.
Right. That's, yeah.
You know, I mean, but you know, that pendulum could swing so far as to say, like, well, did Taylor Swift's parent, you know, did Taylor Swift think her parents couldn't take her far enough? And look where she's at now. You know,
Right.
If you have somebody that cares about you and cares about your well-being and cares about your success, that, you know, the industry experience can be learned. I mean, you and I are, you know, proof of that. You know,
Right.
we both started as kids goofing off trying to get a gig, you know, and here we are 20, 30 years later.
Talking to each other, trying to goof off and get a gig.
Exactly.
Well, and then what I found later on is that you know, I always say, like, you make your own fun.
Sure.
Like, it's so easy, not easy, but I think where the magic is now and the ability to create your own thing and build something around that is just so much more possible now, where you know, you don't have to muddy up your career with other people that maybe be trying to pull it in other directions.
Yeah.
You know, and you can really do what you feel is creatively correct or creatively right in the moment for projects and stuff like that.
And I think, you know, speaking to that, you know, to the creativity in the moment and, you know, not having someone else steer that path for you. I had a conversation with somebody recently and they were like, if you're chasing that thing that's on Spotify or the radio or whatever now,
Yeah.
you're too late.
You're too late. Yeah.
So keep doing you, because you are going to be the thing that lights everybody up. You know,
Right.
if you're passionate about it, your passion shines through, and that's the thing that resonates the most with the people on the other side.
Was that a difficult period for you guys to kind of get through that, or?
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, you know, it's, I mean, as an adult man, I think about like my dad is a hugely important piece of my life, right? And I mean, I tell people about him all the time and how special he is and how meaningful his contributions to me being where I am, right? And I think back and like, that's like one of my biggest regrets. You know, I'm, you know, on the northern side of my 40s, and I still want to like hang out with my dad and be with my dad and emulate my dad. I mean, he's a cool dude.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, so like looking back on me being an idiot 19-year-old or however old I was in that moment, it's like, you know, that was wasted on my youth.
Yeah. Well, it'd be better. It's better that you have that feeling than than being like, best decision I ever made.
Right, no, totally.
To fire my
Totally. Yeah. No, I mean, family is just such a huge part. You know, we're so lucky to have I mean, you came over, I just showed you where my in-laws are
Right.
nearby. You know,
Right.
they're practically next door neighbors. You know, I have access to see my mom. I was with her last night out to dinner, and my dad is nearby too. So it's like we're very close-knit, and family's a huge part
Yeah.
of our lives. And so it's great to, you know, Rhode Island's one of those tiny places,
It
and
really
we're
is.
lucky that they're all reasonably nearby.
Right. It's a special thing. I mean, my
Yeah.
parents are amazing, and they're right next to. They live 10 minutes away.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
10 steps away, but it's it's pretty close. It's close enough. It's close enough. It's close enough.
Love it.
But yeah, I mean, it's just it's you spend so much time in your youth like trying to get away and do your own thing, and then when it comes back around and it's like full circle, you have kids and stuff. You're like, oh, I just like being around your family is like that's the best.
Absolutely.
You're constantly creating. You know, you do a lot of like handy work, like hands-on work. You built, you know, the tables and music and in general and stuff. And you have a creative family. Do you ever experience any kind of like burnout when it comes to gigs, or that creative muscle?
We were just talking about this as a family recently, and someone used the term multifaceted.
Okay.
And I was like, that's a really, that feels like the best term I could use, right? For our family. Like and like you say, we're a creative bunch, right?
Yeah, I mean, you did your own roof. And animal.
Right. So I think that for me personally, that creativity swells from a bunch of different places for me, right? So the musical creativity, the, you know, handyman-esque creativity of building something, the tinkering of you know, fixing something, or visual like design and you know, creativity in that respect. And so I think that what we collectively as a family have not robbed ourselves of is pigeonholing into one, saying like, you're a musician, you play music.
Right.
You don't go over there and paint next week, or
what are you doing?
or why are you underneath the Jeep changing the oil, or why are you up on the roof fixing the shingles or whatever. And so I would say that me personally, like it's having multiple creative avenues. And so that if I'm experiencing musical burnout,
go over here and do this
I'm
other
gonna
thing.
go throw my bike on the bike stand, and I'm gonna, you know, grease up the chain and make sure that the disc brakes are working okay, and you know, and change gears. I'm also like, I've got as creative as my brain goes, it swings in the other direction of like, you know, I'm the spreadsheet guy in the band. I'm the guy that's doing all of the like the math and figuring things out and logistics and those kind of things. So like, I mean, maybe it's borderline ADD, you know, I don't know. Maybe I just can't pick or whatever, but
creativity follows the path of least resistance, I think.
Yeah, totally.
You know, because it comes in waves, and it's like when something happens, it's like, oh okay, I'm gonna follow this thing.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then like I personally I'm right there with you when it comes to doing, like, they're not distractions, they're not just hobbies.
Right.
They're other avenues. So like if it's really difficult for me to like sit down and work on a tune and try to create something, I don't, you know, I don't force it. I go and try to do something else, whatever is going to keep me engaged.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to just sit around, but there's a lot of, not everyone can do that because not everyone has the skills to do it. I think it takes a certain kind of person to be able to, like, you know, go play a gig and then be able to play guitar, also be able to sing and front their own thing, and then also be able to redo your roof and fix the fence. Like, it's not a normal thing, you know.
How did you know what was on my to-do list this
Because
weekend?
I saw the wood. I know what that wood is.
So true.
I know what that's for. I got to do the same thing.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I got to build a fence in my backyard, and you have everything that I want right now.
You're like, I'm going to go get my trailer and take all of your lumber.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, it's totally like not just survival,
Mhm.
like it's like survival of the mind.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it's how you keep yourself busy, it's how you keep your brain working,
Mhm.
and people when they aren't doing the thing that they feel like they're supposed to be doing
Yeah.
end up just doing nothing.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. They sit down in front of, Netflix or whatever.
Right, which I do that too.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, everybody needs a brain break
Yeah.
too, you know.
Yeah.
More so lately, I find myself, just being really passionate about different musical adventures
Hmm.
and wanting to not, it's like, oh, I got a free 30 minutes, and the options are go sit in front of Netflix or spend 30 minutes sitting in front of my pedal steel or something. It's like it's like I'm a kid again. Like
Hmm.
it's like I'm a new, guitar playing kid who just wants to get better, get better, get better.
Yeah.
It's like I just find myself, having this creative space to sit down and flip a switch and get to work in the
Right.
studio is such a luxury for me.
Oh, yeah.
To be, for this space to be turnkey, to be creative, because I think that's a roadblock a lot of times too, is like if you don't have your stuff set up at the ready, like,
Big time.
yeah, you play an acoustic guitar, you take it out of the case, get going. But if you're playing electric guitar or you're a synth player or whatever,
Or
like,
you want to record something.
yeah, you want to record something, it's a process to get into go mode.
Right.
And so, I mean, we sat here setting up cameras this afternoon, before we
Yeah.
got this started. And so imagine being able to walk into a TV studio and go, boop,
Click.
here we go.
Yeah.
You know?
That's how I feel about it at home. Like
Yeah.
I don't always have something to say, but when I do, I want to be able to sit down at my desk
Mhm.
and have my microphone ready to go,
Yep.
have the camera ready to go. And the challenge for me after this will be like after the pack up process and getting it home is getting it back in the house and back set up.
Yeah, right.
Because it's usually set up. You know what I mean? And it's a schlep. It's a bit of.
Thank you for bringing it to me.
You mentioned that, the musical adventures. So I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that you work for Sixth Man,
Yes.
and do all these cruises, which is just like for people that don't know about the
Yeah.
Sixth Man cruises
Sure.
and the festivals on the water and this stuff. It is an unbelievable thing that Sixth Man has accomplished over how many years? Was it 20 years?
Coming up on 25.
25 years.
We're currently in year 24.
Right. So just the scale and the scope of doing that thing and like the systems that have been put in place
Yeah.
and the attitudes of all the people involved and just how, I mean, I'm sure nothing's perfect,
Sure.
but like just what you guys have presented to I'll speak for myself personally, just what that company has presented to like me as a drummer in a band that plays on the Rock Boat is just like pure competency. It's just every little thing, and it also has an element of mystique because like you want to be chosen by Sixth Man. You want like you sit around, you're like, oh, are they gonna pick us? Like I really hope we get to do it this year. I really hope that we get to have this incredible fun experience with all of our friends and all these amazing music loving people, and like please pick us. It's just such an amazing thing. And they have, not only Rock Boat, but you have Kayama, which is the singer-songwriter thing, and you have the WWE cruise, which I need to get on because I keep talking to Will Byington about this.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, it's the best thing I've ever.
Well, let me know. I'll see if I can put in a few words.
The 311 crew, I like exclusively listened to 311 in high school.
Yeah,
like I love those guys.
Yeah.
They're so great, and I think, they're family oriented thing and how they treat their fans is like very much how I would love to present as like a an artist to my fans or to fans. But you're a part of that now.
Yeah.
And you've been a part of it for like 2 years now?
Coming up on 3.
As artist relations?
Yep, artist relations. And I also, as you have multiple times, I sailed as an artist prior to, you know, what I like to say is just wearing a blue shirt. You know,
Right.
if you've been a part of a six-man experience, you know that six-man blue is sort of everybody's wearing some version of a navy blue t-shirt.
You put
or
on
whatever.
your best behavior
You put on your best behavior
when you're around one of those
blue.
blue shirts. No. When you're an artist around one of those blue shirts, like, I want to get to know him, and I want to be nice to him because I want to be chosen.
That's great. I think, so it's coming up on 3 years with Six Man on the blue shirt side. And I did bring that unique perspective, I think, to the artist relations team. I'm the one of, there's 6 of us now on the team that are exclusively artist relations. And so basically from the time an artist signs their contract all the way through until they step off of the ship, I'm their main point of contact for whatever event that I'm working on. So if it's Rockboat or Kayamo or Chris Jericho's Rock and Ragers, wrestling cruises.
It's incredible.
One of those is mine. The other 2 are not. So it's really cool because it's like you're spending time building relationships, and sometimes that's directly with the artists throughout that whole year-long process.
Yep.
And sometimes it's with tour managers or agents or management or whatever. But you're building these relationships. Some of these relationships have been things that have been in place for years because it might be an old friend that we happen to have booked on an event that I'm working on, or it's somebody new that I got to get to know and they've never sailed on a 6-man cruise before. And like you said, there is a mystique to a festival at sea, and there's nuance to it. There's nuance to executing that event, where at a land-based festival, you might have a headliner that's like, I need this special graham cracker or this bottle of tequila or whatever it is that they need. And you can send a runner out to find it locally at a store. Right. Well, if they need that and we're in the middle of the ocean, we're just out of luck.
You got to have it.
And so it's just communicating and educating. I'm a huge fan of something at Six Man that I've leaned into is both receiving and giving mentorship. And like, I just love sharing knowledge, and I love teaching people, and I love supporting. And so I'm working to take that even further to the artist side of things, so that, if you can't get your favorite, Eminem or whatever, I've at least given you fair education as to why I can't do this for you.
And so maybe giving some options, or try to redirect.
Absolutely, because there's always something we can do to support. It might not be that exact thing, but if I've let you know that 6 months prior, and I go, oh man, I'm so sorry, we don't have green M&Ms on the ship.
It's like, maybe when you want a green M&M, go outside and look at the water and the ocean and where you are, and then just like maybe shut the fuck up.
Well, put in those terms. No, so it's really cool. It's really cool to like build that rapport with these different teams and execute these really unique events. And I think that you touched on it too, how you talked about the guests coming on board, how I think that one of the unintended consequences 25 almost years ago, that Six Man was trying to put on a killer event and have a good time. I think the unintended consequence was that what they didn't realize they were doing, and I think we've since very much realized that, is we're building communities of like-minded people.
Of course.
And so the Rockboat community or the Kayamo community or the Chris Jericho's wrestling community or whatever, they found their people.
Oh yeah, big time.
They found their people, and they are willing to go get locked up on a cruise ship for 4, 5, 6, 7 days because those are the people that they can't wait to be around again.
They can't wait for the theme nights. They can't wait to see what the bands come up with for their covers. They can't wait for to create like T-shirts to wear with all their friends, so everyone knows that they're there to decorate their cabin doors and stuff. It's such a unbelievable thing.
Yeah, and I think all of that, you nailed it. I think all of that holds true on the artist side of things too. I think
100%.
I think that Carbon Leaf and Pat McGee Band and even the host artists like Sister Hazel and Train and Creed and all those artists, right? They're going, we're getting back out there with all our buddies.
Yep.
And the funny thing is, and I say this to artists a lot, is you have these relationships with fellow artists
Yep.
that you may consider them one of your best buds, right? Like we just hit it off, right? And the reality being is that the amount of time that you've actually been able to spend with them is a day here at a festival that you're both
Yeah.
playing, and maybe you were touring together for a while, but like the opportunity to spend 7 days with one of your closest musical buddies,
Yeah.
you know, that you don't get to spend that kind of time with. You're having meals
Oh,
together.
it's the best.
You're going to the beach and hanging out for the day. You know, it's like
getting soft serve ice cream every day.
exactly until it runs out, until it gets all mushy and they didn't freeze it long enough.
Yeah. Finding the secret good coffee machine,
Yeah.
which is a thing that Eric Donnelly keyed me in on.
Yeah, I have bad news.
Oh no. They're all bad now. It's 100% right. Like, I'm already talking to people that are going to be on the boat
Yeah.
that I haven't seen in forever. Like,
Exactly.
you know, when I played with Stephen Kellogg, like I used to see John Wiley a lot.
Mhm.
And now he's going to be on the boat,
Right.
and I'm going to get to see him and hang out with him. I've been talking to Brian Facchino about maybe some collaborations, and even on the Carbon Leaf side, like when we know that we're doing that, we know that we have to, like, we don't get asked every year.
Sure.
And it's like, we know that if we get on that boat, we have to bring our A game and come up with some like really cool concept. And that is all 100% Barry. Barry is like the complete mastermind
Sure.
of like all this really cool stuff. He's got he has the big ideas and he makes them happen. And we're all like, how is this going to work?
Right.
Like, you know, we did, were you there when we did Ghostbusters, the Ghostbusters theme song?
Oh my God, no, that's awesome.
Barry bought like a $500 or $600 Ghostbuster outfit, like movie quality thing. Went up on stage, did a Peter Venkman impression, and we played the theme song, and then Doug Ross comes up in a State Puft Marshmallow Man to attack him, and then I'm sure we didn't get invited back for this one particular thing, which was we got a ton of shaving cream.
Oh.
And we had them lay out tarps. We were we were nice enough. We tried.
Right.
But it just got completely dumped all over Barry, and he
that's amazing.
It was one of the most incredible like stage things I've ever been a part of. One of the most incredible. It was so fun.
That's amazing. I love it.
It was great. But we know we have to bring something like that again.
I will say that probably was not, you know, a factor in you not getting asked back or anything like that. You know, because I mean, we've had Guar on the show.
Oh, all right, good. Yeah.
Where the discussions were more of like, how far is the blood gonna go?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, you know, yeah. I mean, I'm as long as you're giving them a heads up, I think they're usually pretty good about
and those
accommodating as much as they can.
I always get worried about upsetting the stage crew guys because those guys are the most serious looking people on the boat.
They are there to.
They're incredible, though.
They are amazing at their jobs, and they're your team. You know. So treat them with kindness.
I know.
Treat them with kindness, and I mean, and I think that we set a certain barometer of how we conduct ourselves with artists on board, so that, you know, it's mutual. Like, we're going to treat you all with kindness, and we're going to treat you with respect, and we can only hope that artists are going to do the same. And I think that, you know, similar to finding communities of like-minded people, I think we do a really good job of seeking out artists that get it. Right. That they're like, all right, cool. Like, I get this vibe. I'm into this. You know, we treat everybody like they're a headliner.
Yeah. Oh, you know? Totally. Yeah.
And as they should be, because, you know, we're all people.
Yeah. I mean, and it's great. It's like, you know, you don't gain anything by downplaying anyone that you're inviting to come along on the boat. How do you approach a 6-man season? Like, you're out for a while.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're away from home, and do you get to bring the family at all? You know, is it 100% work? Because, you know, I've done gigs with you when
Sure.
you have, after setting up, you're on your computer doing stuff for 6 man,
Sure.
and you have to do it. You have to find the time to get the work done.
Yeah, totally. I think that touring really helped me set that balance
Sure.
over the years. And I've actually had that conversation with some of my coworkers, some of my younger coworkers that are maybe starting families or thinking about starting families, and they're like, "Man, how do you do it? How do you stay close with your family and stay connected while we're on the ship for, sometimes a couple weeks or whatever?"
Yeah.
I will say that, internally, like my team is built so that we sort of like leapfrog one another.
Sure.
So there's never a moment where I'm out for more than usually a single event, and then I'm
Okay.
home for, because I need to be home to do effective work,
Right. That's interesting to know, because I imagine that, if you're making a festival on the water, and how they hire people that are in the industry that understand artists,
Yeah.
that understand that have their stuff together enough to be able to do that type of job.
Sure.
Um, I'm sure I'm sure balancing out burnout and dealing with multiple artists, multiple weeks at a time.
Sure.
I imagine that is part of the formula that makes you guys feel so fresh and
Yeah.
able to deal with certain things.
I think that the 25-year history of the company has, it's been a learning experience as they grew, right? The company started with Rockboat, and that was it for a while. It was just Rockboat, right? Just like executing Pat McGee's Down the Hatch once a year,
Yep.
or Newport Folk Festival once a year, or, what have you, a given event once a year. And if that's your sole focus, great. But 2025 was the biggest event year for 6man. We're doing, because it's 2025 now, we're doing 25 events in 2025.
Unreal.
Right? And 19 of them were in what we call our spring season. And once upon a time it really was a spring season, but now our spring season starts in January and goes until May. That's not spring.
That's not spring. Hey, that's not spring.
But what we are currently in is the tail end of essentially 19 events, almost back to back, right? Where I think there was maybe 8 that were truly back to back, and then maybe we gave the ship back for a week and we came right back out and did another. I don't know the exact cadence of it all, but it was 19 events from January to May, and with many of them back to back. But speaking to the frequency of my team and other people on our team, you're right. Some people are out for 42 days straight or something on the ship, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a serious commitment, and we have like an amazing group of people that that we've amassed to do this and do it effectively and do it well. But yeah, I mean, so like just the cadence of it for me, in that spring season is typically, once a month for 4 months straight, and that's Super Bowl season, you know what I mean? That's when you're just like, go. And then, the summertime historically has been, maybe a time to regroup and get ready for the fall season. And the fall season is definitely truly a fall season. Like that's, like I said, we're doing 25 events, 19 of them were in the spring. That leaves only 6 left in the fall, right? And so that's a quick, in and out, late September, mid-October start, and it's done by Thanksgiving.
Right.
It's just that's a little quicker and happens almost in the blink of an eye.
It's like a blip.
And then, summertime, like I said, summertime has historically been that moment to like take a breath after all that spring stuff went on, and then get ready for the fall. And then the fall almost cascades into the spring because, you sail through Thanksgiving, and then you got Thanksgiving and the holidays. And then guess what? We're sailing in the middle of January. So it's like, it's really just one huge cyclical,
the year must fly.
It flies. It flies. I mean, the fact that I'm already, getting inklings of things that are going to happen in 2027.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Like, oh, yeah. I mean, it's being, so those things are already being discussed.
Right.
Not any sort of action being taken, but,
right.
But yeah, it's crazy in that respect. And then even the summertime, not regularly, but in the summertime, we've done Mediterranean cruises. You know, like Joe
Right.
Bonamassa does he did 3 or 4 years of his Blues Alive at Sea in the Mediterranean, in addition to his Miami sailings.
Wow.
And this summer,
Do you feel like it's a lot of crossover with people that come out to that kind of thing, or is it a different clientele?
clientele in the Mediterranean versus the U.S.
Right.
It is surprisingly different.
Okay.
I mean, definitely a lot of U.S. people go, "Whoa, what a cool vacation! I'm
Yeah,
gonna go over
exactly.
to Greece and
Yeah.
Spain or Croatia
Imagine
or
there's
wherever."
a bit of overlap
Yeah,
there.
totally. I mean, and that event has been going on. I think they're coming into year 10 of the Miami event. If that hasn't already passed, you know, he's built again just an amazing community.
Yeah.
This summer we'll be doing our first sailing to Alaska with Joe.
That's awesome.
You know, so like there's always some sort of summertime sailing, typically with Joe actually lately, where they go to somewhere different.
Yeah.
You know,
Seems like an interesting guy.
yeah,
I've never seen him play live. I mean, I've seen videos and stuff.
yeah,
I'm sure it's pretty amazing.
His team is amazing. He's amazing. You know, and again, you know, amasses the artist community that he is so close knit with is amazing.
It must be like a crazy age range on that ship. Like you would think that blues, and it's just like demographics wise, like you would think that blues would bring in like an older audience.
Sure.
But I imagine that those festival type things and those blues artists are an opportunity to bring in younger artists that will, you know, be able to sell tickets for the boat and make sure the audience keeps coming in, you know?
Absolutely. No, that's
Let's
so
not
true.
age out of this audience.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. You know, like I think every genre has its sweet spot of age demographic. And it's really interesting.
Someone home?
Kind of sounds like somebody might be home. Hello? Pardon me. Hi, I'm in an interview right now. It's okay.
You're in it now.
You're going to be part of the podcast.
I'm so sorry.
No, welcome. We actually talked about you briefly too. That's amazing. That was my mom. In true Rhode Island fashion.
Nice.
That was my mom. She came over. We had borrowed some chairs for a party not too long ago, and I think she's probably coming to get them. And she let herself in.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My dad, every now and then I'll my key indicator, I mean, I have Ring cameras around my house, but like my key indicator that my dad has been in my house is that he always leaves the garage door code thing up.
Oh no! Like he flips it up to
He flips it up to do the numbers, and he never puts it down, which is a huge pet peeve of mine. I hate it. I hate when that thing is up, and I come home. I'm like, God damn it,
Dad, you're fired.
Someone's been here. Listen, I'm gonna bring my buddy Pat over, and he's gonna fire you. He's done it before. He's done it before, man. Oh my God. The name of this episode is going to be I Fired My Dad.
Oh my God. I'll never live it down. In my own head, I'll never live it down.
I think it's incredible to like, you know, when you said that, I was like, whoa.
I know.
I mean,
right.
But like, you know, obviously.
I thought McAloon was a mild-mannered dude.
I was like, wow.
Now he's an animal.
He's a total savage. He's a total savage. I knew I liked that guy.
He's a big dummy. That's what he is.
Where can people listen to your stuff? And if you want to plug any of Ruby Mac's stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so, all right. This is my moment to shine as like just a crotchety old man.
Sure.
Right? Like everybody laughs, but I have sworn off of social media.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know, I'm a hermit. I love what I do. I love creating. But I am not really putting myself out there in that respect much these days. I think I probably still have some music on Spotify from albums that I released when Ruby was little. In fact, Ruby's tiny little newborn hand is sitting in the palm of my hand in the liner notes of my first record.
That's adorable.
Because I was in the middle of making that record while Robin was pregnant, and the hopes and dreams were to finish it before the baby was born, and that didn't happen.
Sure.
And then it came time, when Ruby was a newborn, and we sort of looked at each other and we were like, well, this is probably the moment in her life that you could, not be home and she won't remember.
Right.
So like get your ass into the studio and finish that record as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And so it was, we wrapped up the record within weeks of Ruby being born. And so that was a cool little moment in the liner notes, was to like, I dedicated the record to her, because that was,
That's
an
very
amazing moment. I think, she was born in April, and I think the record came out in like June or July or something like that. So,
yeah. Are you happy with the balance that you've found with your career in the music world and all that stuff, as far as being a creator as opposed to working for Six Man and working on that end, like more of the business end of things?
Yeah, I think I'm. This is the most committed I've been to both sides of that equation in a long time. And I'm still working out that balance. I think it was really interesting and really cool that when I started working for Six Man and I was talking with a lot of the leadership there, Pat McGee Band has a lot of history with Six Man as well. And, it was said to me, like, are you still touring with Pat? As I'm like, signing my employment contract. And I was like, yeah, I am. And the overwhelming sentiment was like, don't let that stop. Like, definitely like keep doing both of those things, because we know that lights you up, and I know that it lights me up.
Right.
And so it's really amazing to feel that support, that I can still do both. I didn't have to be like, well, I've gone corporate.
Right.
I'm just putting on festivals now, and
Fellas,
that's the end
I'm
of it.
selling the guitars.
Right.
It's over. It's like,
Where?
I'm actually getting more guitars.
I think I'm still balancing that, and I'm doing a good job of it. I think that where most of the members of Pat McGee Band sit in their lives, most of us have families, and most of us want to be home with our families, right? And so it's not this, hey, we're leaving town for, a 5-week tour, bye family. It's like we would collectively, I think, rather be, weekend warriors or out for Thursday through Sunday or something, so that we can always have that touch point and always be home. And I think that technology has like changed the game with that. I think early on, touring, when it was, a payphone or like, a cell phone call or whatever.
No Zoom.
Right, no Zoom. But as soon as things like FaceTime and Zoom came into vogue, that's a game changer.
Complete game changer.
I was in Africa.
Yeah.
I was in the middle of the Indian Ocean and able to look at my family's faces in real time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
That's game changing.
You get to say goodnight every night. Right. You get to, whatever.
Yeah. So that dynamic has changed a lot, with technology. And I think that's for the better for all of us.
Yeah.
The last 3 records are, in Pat's catalog. I've, been a performer on all of them. I'm a regular performer in his band. I had some co-writes on the last couple of records with Pat, which is a lot of fun. And it's been really fun to like, mentor Ruby in a certain level, and just help her execute the things that she's working on. She's always like, Dad, do you want a songwriting credit on this one? And I was like, well, it depends how much I contribute.
Yeah.
But there's been, we work together on arrangements and we talk through things, and she's learning a lot of like the production element of all of this as we sit in this space.
Right.
And this is Ruby's office. As much as it's my studio, it's Ruby's office. She's living here at the house, and she wakes up every day, and this is the space she works in. She's writing, she's producing, and
it's awesome.
And and I'm a phone call away. I'm upstairs, or I'm out in the backyard, or whatever. And so it's always cool. Or she'll be like, hey, I need you to cut some acoustic guitar parts for me, or whatever.
It's so cool.
And so it's been. I think I've struck this really unique balance of like touring with Pat and interacting with new and old friends through Six Man, and creating and mentoring with Ruby and watching her grow exponentially. Like I think about where she's at 23 years old and where I was at 23 years old, and I'm like, okay, girl.
Yeah, night and day. What advice would you have for like, a young person coming up that's maybe just starting to go to music school, or maybe is taking a an interest in making music a career. I guess you can say, like, what's a piece of advice you gave Ruby? But
Yeah.
you know, if you were to give your younger self some advice, what would that be?
You know, in the like I mentioned earlier, just being such a fan of learning and being a sponge for knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And we touched on Berkeley earlier. One of the things that came out of my time at Berkeley was that I had a professor that sort of like laid down the ground rules of like, look, I'm going to teach you all these things as a foundation. I'm going to, because this is the science part of it, right? This is the stuff that is non-negotiable,
Right.
right? These are the quote unquote rules.
Yeah.
And they're not rules so much as just understanding that, like, yes, a major third is always a major third, right? Like, you're never going to change that.
This is how you're able to tell what's happening.
Exactly.
How you're able to be in a situation and know where you could move. And be able to be fluid in musical situations.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, totally. I like to use the term vocabulary.
Yeah.
You know,
Classic.
I find that regardless of whether you're trained or not, that you have a vocabulary to speak musically, right?
Sure.
And our friend Brian Facchino is, you know, one of the most, you know, literate.
The most well-read.
The most well-read, yes.
Yeah,
I talk about his musical vocabulary constantly. I'm inspired by it. But all of that being said is, you know, the long and short of it was they said, look, hey, I'm going to teach you these rules so you can break them. But you got to understand them first.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, like,
100%.
don't blindly break them. You know, understand, you know, get that foundation, like do everything you can to get that foundation so that you can communicate to others, right?
So you're not just so random.
Yeah. You know, and I mean, just, you know, knowledge is power, period, everywhere in life. And so, you know, understanding that stuff and learning that stuff so you can be in a position to communicate, you know, emotionally as well as, you know, verbally about what you're trying to do.
Convey your ideas properly, have good ideas, know when something's been done, know how it's been done.
Sure.
Know where, you know, just, it's just, that, I think that's the best description of not only Berkeley, but any kind of music schooling experience. It's like, you can do that on your own. And I actually, you know, would advise people to do it on their own.
Sure.
But, you know, having the foundation and knowing how to communicate and knowing like what you could do.
Sure.
And then being able to make decisions based around that.
Yeah. It's helpful.
Is helpful.
It's helpful. It's a tool in the toolbox.
Right. Not, it doesn't mean you can't, you know.
Exactly.
Plenty of people making hits that have no idea what a 2/5 is. You know, so it's just like, you know, it's a bit of a mystery. I talked a bit about this. I just read Rick Rubin's book.
Oh yeah, I've got it upstairs.
Yeah. So I've been on are you reading it or doing the audiobook?
No, I will physically read it. I just haven't started yet.
Yeah, the audiobook is produced by him, and it's very much like it's written like Marcus Aurelius meditations.
I love it.
That's what I compare it to. And it's just these thoughts that he has and all these things that he himself knows to be true in his own experience and stuff, and how magical the whole artistic experience is, and how anyone can do it. And like, you know, he's also coming at it from a professional standpoint of like people that do this for a living.
Yeah.
And I got so much out of it.
That's awesome.
Like for me, I'm trying to be a better collaborator, and his bit on collaboration in that book like really hit home to me as just being just not a great collaborator for such a long time, being too like trying to like convince people of my ideas and not just like letting things happen and being a little too forceful,
Mhm.
you know, and it's definitely harmed me, but it's just part of my personality.
Yeah, right. I mean,
So
yeah.
his bit about that in the book is like really great and something that I'm going to approach in a different way going forward to try to be a better collaborator. But I love that book.
That's
And,
awesome.
Yeah,
Oh,
it took me a little bit to get into it because, you know, I my whole newsletter today is about this, and it's just like so philosophical, and I'm just a little like, I'm like, come on, I'm still a Rhode Islander at heart, you know. I'm just like, come on, all right. And I just, you know, I painted this picture of him like, oh, he's sitting on a mountain, like crisscross applesauce, and like eyes closed, just, you know, talking into an SM7B, and just all these suits are sitting in like this glass encased studio behind him, just let him do his work, you know. And it's just all very ridiculous and whatever. And then I think maybe chapter 2 or chapter 3. I just, something he said, I locked in with. Yeah. And I just could not stop listening to him. I'm on my like 3rd listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm
okay.
I don't know if you're like this, but like I do stuff over and over again because you know, you find new things every time. But yeah, man, I recommend it to everyone.
Ooh, I can't wait because I've got it and it's on my to read list.
It's great.
So,
and none of it is like earth shattering.
Sure.
It's like, you know, when it's affirmation.
I was just gonna say it's affirming.
Yeah. Well, it's affirmation that like, oh, it's okay to like, it's totally normal to have this idea that excites you so much, and then you're like, oh, you put it down, you go to bed or whatever, and then you listen to it again, and you just keep reliving the same thing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I don't know what to do with this. And like, and then you make other people listen to it and they're like, oh yeah, like where's the chorus? It's like, I haven't gotten there yet. It's like, are you going to do that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
How that happens.
Your musical thought is your musical thought. And
right.
If, you know, like just because I say you're going to make a chord, you know, like, I mean, Ruby and I have those conversations constantly. I mean, I could pull up tracks right now that are like in their various stages.
Just little
of
ideas
infancy,
or whatever.
And you're like, man, that's amazing. I do think that, you know, in the writing process, that especially in the co-writing process, that it's always really cool when someone challenges me to like, what can we do that's even cooler or better than that, right? Like, because it's like, this is awesome. Is that a pre-chorus?
Yeah.
Right? Like, or is that the, you know, like, could we be even better?
Yeah.
You know, like
for me, I'm just like, can we just enjoy this for a second?
So true.
Can this just be it?
Yeah. No, and both of those things are completely valid.
Yeah.
But you know, in the spirit of collaboration, like what a fun way to collaborate, to, you know, to challenge one another to elevate your game.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
I'm constantly inspired by the people I play music with.
Dude, that was good. That was very good. Nice work. Can't believe you fired your dad. What a jerk!
Oh my God.
I love it.